this meeting to order. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Run the roll, please.
Hill?
Yes.
Hermsing?
Yes.
Schweitzer?
Yes.
Ingen? Is excused. Vaughn?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Holland?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Hill,
Second.
second by Davis. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public comment, we have none this evening. So go to the next item. Accept and approve the consent agenda that approves the following. 1, the minutes of the April 22nd, 2013 regular meeting. 2, the financial statements for the month of April. 3, the Independence Volunteer Fire Department financial report for the month of April. 4, home occupation permits renewals.
So moved.
Motion by Holland,
Second.
second by Hermson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the bills.
I did have two questions, and I'm sorry I didn't have time to get a hold of you today, Barb. One is on our legal and professional services, Swisher and Court. It seems like we're paying them on a monthly basis, and I was just wondering what that is for. This time we paid them $333.
And we've had some discussions with them on some potential employee retirement package ideas, as well as fire department volunteer pay and how we should look at addressing that, how we're currently doing it, and how that may be affected by healthcare reform. So there's been issues such as those that we've been talking about with him directly.
And why are we using him and not Carter?
Because a lot of those issues are HR and employment specific, and I know in at least one of those cases, I know Carter recommended that we talk to him, to Mr. Widener instead, because of his expertise in that field.
So is this gonna be an every month expense for us?
I
And
hope
is it
not.
is it figured in our budget?
Well, we have a flat amount budgeted for attorney's fees in our budget.
And that's gonna cover Carter Stevens's bill and this?
I hope so.
Okay. And the other question is, in the streets department, J&R supplies equipment for $6,600. Can you tell me what that was for? And I know I usually call ahead of time.
Equipment.
$6,600.
Can't recall what it is offhand.
Okay, can you just let me know, and then, those were the only two questions, and I would make a motion that we approve the bills.
I have a motion by Schweitzer,
Second.
second by Hill. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Petitions from the public. Item 1, Brian Schoen, Director of Development and Transit, Intercog, present to review the proposal for services relating to upgrading the Independence Comprehensive Plan. Motion to adopt a resolution approving proposal submitted by Intercog for providing services and updating the Independence Comprehensive Plan not to exceed cost totaling $35,000. Good evening, Brian.
Good evening. What we'll do, I think, is hopefully you've had a chance to look at the proposal that we sent out here a while back. If you haven't, that's fine. We can get it to you again. You can take a look at it. The document that was sent out looks like this. It just has a real nice outline in terms of a proposal. The project itself is about an 18-month body of work. Involves a significant amount of public input at the local level. It requires or asks us, or we will make sure we are consistent with the new Iowa Code. There's a new section on planning in the Iowa Code. 18B is the section, And what it does is it gives us guidance in terms of updating your current comp plan. This is what your current comp plan looks like. It was done about 10, 11 years ago. And it provides the foundation ultimately for your zoning, your subdivision ordinance, your tax increment finance laws, and those kinds of things. So it's kind of that underlying foundation. And that's the purpose of the plan itself. With the new change in the Iowa Code, they have been very specific in terms of what sections we have to have, how we address things, how we go about public input. Colleen in our office, in my department, has outlined a process. It's a process that we've used in a number of other communities, most notably in the city of Waverly, where we updated their plan about the same age as your plan is right now. And we worked with a number of different bodies in the community. We created a task force, and again, pretty lengthy process, pretty lengthy procedure. The land use plan itself, as I said, is a foundation for those other land use elements, whether they be the zoning ordinance, subdivision ordinance, the tax increment finance laws that you have on the books, the urban renewal plan, but also looks at things like streets, bike trails. You've been involved in the Department of Public Health process, that Healthy Iowans initiative. Certainly that would dovetail into this as well. Colleen, those of you that have been involved, Colleen would be in this project as well, be involved in this project as well. The other thing that the plan does, obviously, like I said, it sets the foundation, but we're also going to look at capital improvements. We're all going to also look at some prioritization of spending, some of those kinds of things that you had asked us for. I believe some of our staff members had come over and met with a small group of people last October, and that's kind of how this process got going. Was last October we walked through a process, a proposal was then developed, and what I'm here tonight to do is really to ask if you have any questions, any comments, or anything that I can provide answers to, hopefully. And if I can't, I will certainly get back to you. Questions, comments? Ultimately, in the end, we will produce a written document, a written plan for the city that will meet those code requirements, but we'll also produce a poster. And we've had an opportunity to do that in a couple of other communities, and that poster is framed, not unlike you've got on the wall here, that kind of keeps it out in front of the council, the planning commission, the boards of adjustment, and those kinds of commissions as well. So that plan is really out in front most of the time. So, and again, we've got the ability to do all the printing in-house, whether it be the posters or the documents, color, black and white, whatever you like. And I do have some of those examples. I have the Waverly plan here. You can go on their website too if you want to see their plan. I know it's loaded up there. But I know, like the poster that we generated there, ultimately that's a guide for the community. They're two different sizes. Matter of fact, we built the posters around the size of the frames. They had bought the frames, I think they were bought in about the middle 90s, and they wanted the posters to fit into the frames without reframing. Framing's very expensive, and so we've actually had to condense. It becomes an executive summary of the plan. So you got a plan, and the plan itself is rather significant in terms of number of pages, and then we've condensed it down into two posters, and you can see they're different sizes. If you size these up, they fit into their frames. And this one I think is about 3.5 by 3.5, and this one's about 4 foot by about 2.5. And so, and these actually in the community are in a couple of different places. They're not just in City Hall, Chamber, Bank. We've got a number of different places. So we have to print usually about a half a dozen of the posters, and we leave them around the community. So that's what I'm here to talk about. If you got any questions or comments for me?
And those are in your proposal also?
Correct. Yep. All in the proposal, Steve. The number of copies, the poster, all that stuff is in there. The time, the person hours, and so on and so forth. When we do the meetings, when we conduct the meetings, we'll ask for your help, certainly, to identify people, persons, times, dates, all those kinds of things. And what we like to do on the front end is identify the meeting dates right out of the gate for the whole process. So people know, okay, we're going to talk about this particular topic on this particular day. And if you're interested in housing, you come on that day. And if you're interested in economic development, you come on that day. You can come to all the days if you like, but if you only want to come to certain days, then certainly you can pick and choose.
Would you touch, Brian, so they kind of adjust the timeline that this plan takes?
Again, what we were proposing was an 18-month process beginning in your new fiscal year. So after July 1 is when we would propose beginning the process. We would put together what we call a public involvement plan, which is just really a laying out in a matrix or a spreadsheet of all the meetings that will go across the 18 months. And of course, we can't, you know, we can't prepare for everything with regard to weather and those kinds of things, we'll adjust, but we try to lay all those things out. Different days, different times, things like that. And we would let you drive time of day and days of week and those kinds of things. And I know in Waverly, we actually had daytime meetings. They actually suggested it. We thought, well, normally people, you know, come in at 7 o'clock at night or 6 o'clock at night after they've worked, and they proposed it across the noon hour. And so we did something different there, and it just kind of varies. We would let you drive those kinds of things. But the process would be 18 months long. The committee would be very involved in the process. We also will use your Planning and Zoning Commission. We'll be there a number of times as well. We'll be working between the committee and the Planning Commission, back and forth, what we find, what we've heard, what we've discovered, and so that'll all be shared back and forth. There'll be some joint meetings, Council, Planning Commission. We certainly can visit some of your other commissions, your boards, park, library, those kinds of things as well. And we've done those in the past. We've done some civic groups, just depends on what you want to see.
Is the fee that you quoted here, is that top dollar, you don't come back later
right.
and say, oh, we got
We're way behind.
a couple thousand for
Yeah,
this.
no, we would do a not to exceed is what we would do. And we would bill at it at an hourly rate so that you wouldn't get a lump. You would get the number of hours that were incurred in the month prior. We bill on a monthly basis, just a flat hourly rate.
Now, do all communities our size have this type of thing?
Yeah, especially in even smaller communities, larger communities too, if they want to have a zoning ordinance, a subdivision ordinance, TIF, and those kinds of things, they do. It's really the way the code is written, a prerequisite, and so they do. In our region, your comparable communities all have it, whether it be Waverly, Evansdale, whomever, in terms of size. And so if they want to have those other tools, then certainly we have to have the base or the foundation, in this case, the plan, so.
How often should this be done? Now, you said this was 10 or 11 years?
Yeah, about 11 years by the time we would get going again. Certainly what I would suggest, and I know sometimes this is a stretch, is I would like the Planning Commission, the Board of Adjustment, I'd like to see it on the agenda as a go-through each year. You know, let's renew, let's refresh, let's talk about it, but updates probably every 5 years, for sure every 10, because that's a new census. You get new information, you get new numbers, you get new data. The technology is moving so quickly. Our GIS ability has changed dramatically even from 10 years ago. The one we